Get curious. To expand your mind map, you have to ask questions that you don't know the answer to. That, my friends, is very hard, especially as a leader. How many times have we seen something go wrong and we're like, all right, I gotta, be a good boss, and I'm not going to point out they messed up. I'm just going to say, hey, tell me what happened here. And right? It's like you in your mind really kind of know what happened. But when you're not really hearing what that other person has to say. They may tell you something you had no idea existed. But if you weren't getting curious and not willing to ask questions you don't know the answer to, again, you can't expand your mind map because you're not willing to learn new things. And so you've got to be able to get curious and really start to ask questions you don't know the answer to. And in this workbook, I gave you a long list of questions you can use with your team. There are discovery questions. And here's an example of some of those. Like, just imagine if you were having a day where, it was just tough. The team wasn't necessarily doing well. Maybe that people aren't getting along. Like, it's just not what it needs to be. And you asked yourself, what assumptions do I have right now about my team? And are those assumptions actually true? And you started really working through that. What could you learn? How would that change your mind map? How would that allow you to grow? What about, saying, what's my experience with this, and how can I grow my experience with this? One of my favorite questions, what led me to this idea? What led you to this idea may not be giving you purpose. If you have a situation where you need to get curious, knowing how you got there may help you backtrack a little bit, and help you think about things in a new way. And the questions on page 10, and Susan, I'm so glad you love page 10. I love all these questions. They're so good. It'll help you start to think about discovery with you and your team, and also innovation. And again, when you ask these questions, it's so hard, but you can't know the answer to it because we're really just making assumptions. And so one of my favorite questions on here is actually about assumptions. What if our assumptions weren't true? So imagine you've got a big problem, and your team and you are trying to solve it, and everyone's just like, right, racking their brains. We can't figure this out. And what if you just asked everyone to stop, take a breath, and said to them, what if everything we're thinking right now, everything we're assuming about this problem, what if none of it was true? What would be true? Imagine that kind of question to your team, getting them again to move off where they are to go into a new pathway. It'll be amazing to see how they start to change their views, or how they start to see things a little differently. All right, how many of you see these questions and know there may be one or two that you want to ask your team this week? Because again, to change behaviors, we have to start changing our behaviors right away after we learn this material. All right, so being curious lets you learn things you didn't even know you needed to learn. Wow, right? And I mentioned this a little earlier, going through this neuroscience leadership training, and becoming certified in it. Like, every day I went to class, and for a year and a half I went to class for a year and a half to study this. And I'd be like, God, if I'd only known that back when I was doing whatever, I could have done this and that, right? So it totally blew out my mind map. Like, my mind map exploded that year and a half. But I learned things I didn't know I needed to know because I thought I was pretty decent at it. I mean, heck, I decided to open a leadership development company. I guess I thought I was good at it, but then I learned things I didn't even know I needed to learn. And it blew it out of the water and really changed how I approach every single one of my clients, and really approach myself and our team. This team knows I say all the time, change my mind, help me see it different. And oftentimes they all do that. So good. All right. So who wants to get curious with their team and curious with themselves? If you're jumping off, I want to say thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this and you want to tell a friend, you can send your friend the link to sign up. They'll get all the replays, they'll get the workbook, they can come to the other 2 sessions. What's important to know is here at 304, we do talent strategies, we do assessments, leadership academies, executive coaching, anything around talent strategies. We do that and we have a ton of fun around it.